Good evening and welcome to Me, My Scotch and I. I'm Obi Spencer and we are on the Spanglish Sports World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app and make sure you rate it. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Shows broadcast in 4 continents and 35 countries. Sports are a source of fun and excitement for the fans. For the players, coaches, and team owners, sports are a business around the game, but a business nonetheless. One of the many ancillary businesses around sports is the sports agent. At its simplest and most straightforward, an agent procures, negotiates employment and endorsement contracts for the athlete or coach who they represent. Here to tell us what that means in some detail is pro sports agent Anthony Solano. Anthony, how are you?
How's it going? I'm doing well. It's nice to be on the show.
Oh, excellent. So glad you said yes. Real happy to have you. You're a Jersey boy, born and raised. You live in the state. I know your background is primarily basketball, including Division III basketball at Rutgers Camden. As we've been talking, there's more to your sports life than that. Where did it start? Just give everyone a brief history of your sports career before you had to retire.
I mean, the tri-state area is huge on sports and especially basketball. I grew up in New Jersey, but I'm very close to New York. So, my summers were spent playing summer league basketball in New York a lot. And, it's just growing up for me, it was really important. I mean, I've known you, you've known me my whole life. And so you knew my sister, Jessica. And, she was just so impressed by basketball. So for me, it was like natural to just want to impress her. And, and then unfortunately, we lost her early, but that's what kept me tied to basketball was my tie to her. And I love basketball for the character it develops, everything. I wrote a thank you letter once to basketball because it's what kept me straight and narrow, and basketball has always been a passion of mine. And I mean, unfortunately, I didn't make the NBA, but that's a statistic that we're going to talk about probably later when we're talking about the agency. Because a lot of kids, we have dreams, but there's only a certain amount of spots. But I was lucky enough to go to law school and then combine what I knew about law with what I love about basketball, and it was a perfect fit. So, yeah.
That's great. I remember going to one of your very early basketball games, and the fact that you later ended up playing in college, that was impressive, an impressive turnaround. I know we all have to begin somewhere, but you did not look like you were gonna go, and then you were a 42% 3-point shooter in college at the end. So things changed. That was so awesome to watch you grow into the game and be that good at it.
Yeah, go on. I was definitely not a natural for sure. It took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of just wanting it. I mean, that's like anything in life. But when you first saw me, man, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, and that goes to a great perseverance, and obviously that's the kind of thing that we want from sports to teach us is that ability to persevere, the teamwork. You take that perseverance, and next thing you know, you're like, all right, I can manage law school. I can get through law school. And you get through law school and you become an agent. So you heard my earlier real brief description on what an agent is. Tell us how you get from law school to becoming an agent, open an agency, all that sort of intricacies for those folks who say, yeah, I'm not going to be that small percentage. How do I do something in sports that I can stay involved with?
So, I mean, the thing about the agent, I mean, like you said earlier, it's a business. The number one thing you'll understand really quick when you get in any, the side parts of even basketball players in the NBA, you learn it's a business. And a lot of people won't fully understand what that means until you experience it. But what that really means is, you got to put your emotions aside and understand what people are looking for. It's not, it's based off the connections you make like anything. And you really just have to understand that everything it deals with the financials. It deals with everything outside of it. So a lot of people just watch NBA and they think, oh, this guy's a good player, he should make it. But there's so much more decisions that are being made behind it. A trade is just not a trade. Sometimes they're thinking years in advance for salary cap room, what players they're going to get, And so it's not that simple, And so as as an agent, I would say the number one word that sums it up, if you want to know, is a babysitter. you're a babysitter, you know? And especially now, the one thing I can attest to is it's a different game, you know? It's a very different game where, unfortunately, there's a lot of, you know, you see guys, everyone's seen it in the headlines with the FBI cracking down, but that was already happening. Like, and if I could be completely honest about it, that's not a secret in the agent, you know? It's just the people who get caught. And unfortunately, like, you know, and that's why it's hard to make it in this business. I mean, me and my team, I have a guy I signed up for. We pledged to just be different, you know, and we might make it, we might not, you know, but we've done pretty good so far with some of the players we had, but it's very hard to compete with, you know, some of these other agents who are throwing money at the kids. And not only are the agents throwing money at kids, these kids are now expecting it. You know, we live in a day of Instagram, social media. All these kids know each other. Before, it was, you know, if a kid had a rank, you went to the park, you played them, and you wanted to beat them. Now these kids are all best friends since they're younger. They're getting groomed for this business, you know? And like some of the first things we've had kids, like the first thing they say is how, like they're basically saying how much. And as soon as the kid says that, I walk away, you know? And so you got kids who are 14, 13, thinking about like getting money now for their, you know, and that's kind of what it's turned into in an unfortunate way, you know? It really has. And, but I mean, it's still, I think we're getting back to integrity because of hopefully the FBI crackdowns, you know? And I mean, we thrive in a business because I'm in the tri-state. My business partner actually, he's one of the top trainers in the tri-state area. He's trained a lot of the top kids who are now coming to fruition. So our competitive advantage was with the fact that we have a pipeline. You know, we have a lot of kids who are ranked in the nation. I can't name names about future kids, but, you know, they're coming to fruition now. They're some of the best kids in college basketball. You know, they're some of the top players, and we've trained them since they were kids, and we were already helping them. Like I was already doing whatever I can, you know? I mean, just like you used to help, like you would help me out is how I was helping them. So it was just easy to be like, why don't I just do an agency, you know? And that's basically how we got to that. And we want to change the game. We want to be different. I know a lot of people say that, but we actually have the pipeline to do it. Because, you know, unfortunately in the agency business, being idealistic might hurt you if you don't have the actual resources to combat some of the negative sides of it. Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine that the game's really about to change it. I don't fully understand what's happening with the name, image, and likeness laws that are now in place, and the NCAA is going to follow apparently with some rules. Does that mean that agents are going to get involved earlier, or can they get involved earlier? How does that affect the business that you're in?
So that's a really gray area right now, just because, to be honest, the NCAA, going along the lines of likeness, they want to get paid. You know what I mean? And so now they have, like, I'm sure you heard of the rule where if you want to talk to people NCAA certified, you know, you have to be NCAA certified as an agent. Like, it's a separate certification than the MBPA, and that's a separate certification that you're paying yearly for. But realize this: for that certification, that's only for people wanting to test the waters, which means like, this game is not a guessing game. They know the players they want. So I say that because the players that these NCAA certified agents are going to get are maybe not kids who know their lottery. And if they're not lottery, it's probably not worth it. And so a lot of agents, I remember at the agent meeting before COVID hit, they hated it. And we thought it was just a money grab. As a collective, we really feel like it was a money grab. So even though they're making, you know, they're making it more state specific laws, where I see, like, for instance, in New Jersey, we're allowed to represent players for their with like specific regards to like likeness and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean you can represent them to the NBA. You know what I mean? And that's where there's going to be. I mean, right now it's a very big gray area. It's very mushy. They're still ironing it out. Because I mean, again, like, I mean, obviously the NCAA just went through a probe of their books and everything. You know, so they're just, in my opinion, the NCAA is always going to try to get paid. And I've always been a big supporter of athletes getting paid because, you know, a lot of people think scholarships is enough, but they don't understand, like, they're giving years and bringing in money to a university. That's work, you know? So. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm for athletes getting paid too. I think that it will change the landscape of sports, college sports, over when athletes get paid, but that doesn't mean that change is going to be bad.
No, I don't think so. I mean, and I'm also all for, like, this. I mean, they're going to get rid of it. I'm all for the one and done rule being done because, you know, on average, a lot of these players they're risking injury to go, you know, they're risking a lot to take 1 year. Like Michael Porter Jr. went to college for a year. They said he missed out on $8 million in his first year based off his draft pick. You know what I mean? and they used him for ticket sales still, but it didn't equate to what he got. And let's be honest, the one and done, the 1 year in college, what's going to get you more ready for the NBA? College or NBA? Like, it's the NBA, like.
Speaking of that, so I'm looking at that one and done rule going away, and I'm thinking, who does that help in the agents? Does that help a young startup agency like you? It does.
It definitely does, because especially with the kids I'm around, a lot of college coaches, I'm not going to name any names, are known for, cherry picking agents. There's a lot of salary going on besides the salary, and I don't want to like blast anybody, but at the end of the day, that's a lot of that is happening. So it's been hard for us sometimes to get sit downs because they don't sit down with just anybody, At the high school level, you'll still have a lot of these kids who have handlers, whether it's their parents, whether it's somebody who looks after them, but that's a lot easier to approach than a college who's already established with a lot of bigger agencies, so that's definitely going to help me because now I can talk to a lot of these kids I'm already talking to help out anyway. I'm already in conversation with these parents. Once they go to college, a lot of them are lost.
Yes, I got you. So you're saying kids go to college, they go to a college that's a one and done type factory, and they have Coach A, and Coach A is like, I'm going to bring you in. You're going to play for the year. And why don't you talk to Joe over here? Joe will really make sure that you get to the NBA team and get that best salary over the course of your lifetime.
Yeah, and mind you, it's still happening earlier than that, but that's how, once they go to certain colleges, like especially some big name colleges, you're not even going to get near them, They have so many people in their ear at that point. It's very hard,
Yeah, and at that point, there's less big name colleges, right? So even if it's not a dirty business, let's say there's 10 really big name colleges, if there's even that many. You're right, they have those names in their head, and the coach is their coach, is their mentor, and that mentor has names in his head just because those are relationships, like you said, that he's built. So even in a clean world, it's still going to be narrowed down, whereas if you're dealing with a bunch of kids across the entire country, there's less grouping them together as having the same mentor or the same coach, because some coach gets lucky one year and the kid sprouts up and all of a sudden, hey, here's your shot. And they're ready for him.
Exactly. And especially as a new business, as a new agency, you need any competitive advantage. And I don't want to portray like the business as completely dirty, but I'm just saying there's let's be honest about some things that do go on. Obviously not every coach does that, not a lot of coaches, but there is connections. It's a connection business.
Right, yeah. And so that's kind of what I'm saying. Connections sometimes feel dirtier than they are, right? And that's just the bottom line.
It still doesn't help me when I don't have that long-standing connection. You get what I'm
saying? Right. So for you, they're like, when I get those, maybe I'll see that they were clean before.
Then I'll be happy about them.
You represent some guys playing overseas. How did you manage those negotiations? Were you traveling overseas? Were you here? And then did COVID slow those down? What was that all like around?
Oh, man. So this is when I started using WhatsApp. Everybody communicates overseas through WhatsApp, Most of my conversations, believe it or not, I do plan on traveling in the future, but COVID really made it hard. It made it hard for me to get over there. It made it hard for a lot of leagues. They have import rules as it is with a lot of United States, like passport players, and so they cut that down. And like, for instance, in the league in Australia, I was actually going to go out there and meet my good friend Mike Lee, he's with the Golden State Warriors organization. But he told me, like, for me to get out there, they automatically don't give you anything. You're not allowed to touch your clothes. You have 14 days in a room, and then they let you out, So, and that's how it's really hard right now with COVID. COVID made it tremendously hard for overseas players, for sure. So most of my is via Zoom, via WhatsApp a lot. It's not really any different from the NBA. Once everything starts opening up, I do plan on really traveling and meeting a lot of the NBA teams that I've been already meeting by ourselves. But it's COVID really changed the game for that. Like, we couldn't do. I have one player who just played in the G League, and he was a player. I get to name him Quincy McKnight. He was the top point guard for Seton Hall. He had a great year his junior year. He transferred from Seton Hall, went to Seton Hall his junior year, had an amazing run. They made it to I believe the Elite Eight or Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament, and he was a point guard with Miles Powell, a star-studded best shooting guard in the nation. And then the next year though we got him, but unfortunately COVID happened and he didn't get his tournament, you know. And he was a Plymouth. He got invited to I'm forgetting the name, but it's if you're not like necessarily in the NBA combine, you can get invited to it, you know. And unfortunately, because he was on that list, you know, he couldn't qualify as a tryout player, and that's a lot of other things that go into it. But basically, long story short, we couldn't get him in-person workouts. We couldn't get him in front of people, and he's the kind of player who thrives in that. So players like that who like you're required to get in front of somebody, COVID really hurt. You know, the big names are big names. They don't like if they want you, they're gonna come get you. Overseas too. Overseas knows, believe it or not, a lot of these overseas teams know every single player in the NCAA. You know, when we talked to them, they were already familiar with Quincy McKnight. Like I didn't have to tell them. You know, and that's a very big thing to understand as well as players who are hopeful, you know, because, you know, a lot of it really, they already know who they are, you know. So the few players we have overseas, they were more lower level, I would say. They weren't like top level competition, but they were maybe second league, third league. And that's another thing. Overseas has different leagues, you know, within the league, if that makes sense, right? So they have the A division, B division, C division. And, you know, depending on which division you're in, depending on what your year out is, if you're a rookie, you know, you get scaled on salaries with that. But overseas has been pretty seamless, honestly. I like overseas too because they're a little more, they're a little less surprising than the NBA. The NBA, you know, there's a lot of disconnection amongst the ranks. Like sometimes, you know, one of the keys as an agent is you got to know who can make decisions within the NBA. It's not always the same person. So sometimes it's the GM, sometimes it's the coach they give a lot of leeway to. Sometimes it's maybe they have a main scout. You know what I mean? Like it's really understanding who makes decisions. Not everyone makes the same decisions in every team, you know. And sometimes there's disconnect. So maybe one side likes McKnight, but the other side doesn't know it, and they're the ones who make decisions, you know. So you got to really understand that. Overseas, they're a little more connected. So you're dealing with the coach right away. You're dealing with the president of the organization right away. They're generally the ones making decisions.
Gotcha. Their structures are more consistent across teams, whereas in America, and you see it all the time in sports. You watch the sports shows. Who's making the decision over there? You know, LeBron's been making the decisions wherever he goes. And as an agent, are you even going to be talking to a GM who's like, LeBron, do we like the guy or not?
Exactly. If you want to get on the Lakers, you call LeBron. You don't call anybody else.
That's right. And I believe a large number of the team members have the same agent as him. So, you know, that's probably very, very true. Speaking of Quincy McKnight, you're his agent, and I think this kind of goes into this whole conversation of what you were just saying. How much influence does an agent have on getting his guy who's in the G League, getting him called up, getting him that shot once he's there? I mean, you mentioned before you're babysitting him, but how much can you fight for him like a parent fights for their kid to get into that advanced math class?
I mean, so this is where I think we have also a competitive advantage. We just try. We just care. Like, I care about Quincy. Quincy's a great client, great kid, amazing person, like an amazing person. He's like a coach. But so how much – I'm going to be completely honest right here, and this is like what I learned in my first year. Agents don't really have much say in that. They really don't. As much as people want to believe that, the things that make that control decisions, especially in the G League, is money. The money players are going to get time. Even if they got to play them out of position, they're going to play them, you know, because that's what – I mean, especially this year with COVID, we experienced this heavily. A lot of two-way – there wasn't really much two-way players playing in the NBA. A lot of two-way players were held down into the G League. They also had the G League Ignite team. So the G League was very different this year, you know. And the coaches, we had, like, for instance, Quincy, you know, he played. The coaches didn't have much say in who gets to play. It comes down from the top, right? Like, and the top says, these are our money guys. They got to play, you know. But that being said, you know, again, you might say the right thing to the right person sometimes. So my job, my specific job, and what I do all the time is I'm always calling. Like, you know, a lot of these, when you get into the actual, like, inner circle of agency and NBA, believe it or not, they're like, it's really easy to work with the teams. Like, I can call a lot of them. Like, I call Bart from the Pacers, or, you know, Mike Lee and they actually want to talk. They're very, because again, one thing I realized too is this is a two-way street. They need players. They also want good connections with agents because they want to be able to get players. You know, they want to, especially those hot topic players, they're going to fight for them, you know? And so they're actually, if anything, their relationship with agents is super important. And it's not even like necessarily the other way around all the time, you know? Because when a team wants a player, they're gonna come. I got a story real quick of one of my friend agents. He was coaching. So I mean, he was an agent for somebody playing in Australia, and so the NBA called him, and this was a hell of a player. He had a great player. Excuse me. He was a great player, and they called him for it. And he didn't call. They called him, but not for his player. They called him for RJ Hampton because RJ Hampton was in Australia. So the point is, and that was the president of the team calling another agent to get information. So my point there is, if they want you, they're gonna come get you. You know what I mean? Your only sway, for the most part, is maybe you can get an Exhibit 10, and an Exhibit 10 is a fancy way of a team just saying, you're pretty good, we like you, we're going to try to secure you, but we're going to put you on the G League. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so my point is, like, there's very little. I'm sure you can say the right thing, and a lot of people want to believe the big agencies could do this, that, and the third, but in reality, it can't. You know, like, I mean, look at Miles Powell, right? Miles Powell went with CAA, and he was with Obi. They were representing Obi Toppin and all them. And the problem with that, and I always tell young players, is realize this: like when they're calling, like if I call you and you're part of the NBA team, if I have a multitude of players, I'm not going to concentrate on every single one. You concentrate on the guy like Obi Toppin, you know, and then you get a favor, like everyone knows, Rhodes with the Knicks, and then you're still, you know, so it's not really much.
Right. That all makes sense, especially so I looked, and I don't have it anymore, but I was surprised how few players the top agents represented in the NBA. Like and it makes sense because if you find the kid coming up through the ranks in Jersey, New York metro area, he's being trained by your buddy, doesn't go to the NCAA, and he says, I'm going with Anthony. Now they all want you, and they better not have been mean to you when you were trying to get McKnight up, or you'd be like, oh, okay, well, he's a free agent now, and he's not even going to hear that you were interested. You know, yeah, I'm not saying that you would completely be that petty, but that's always the possibility.
No, but that's the reality, and that exactly the reality is we have the goods that the NBA wants, you know, and remember it's NBPA versus NBA in a sense, you know, so we have like the player, especially if they know we have pipelines and we can potentially get players, we can get them access to players earlier than any other team, because sometimes, you know, it really is a picking game. Like us as agents, we choose which teams to call. We like, you know, some agents call every team, some agents pick where exactly their player wants to play, you know, and that's also built off the relationships I have with some of these teams.
So, excellent. Yeah. Now, we talked a lot about the team side of it. That goes right into your being a guy who played sports, grew up playing basketball, so you know how to talk to those guys. We all know that in basketball, a lot of the money that's made for these dudes is endorsements. So where is it the same game when you're calling Nike and Adidas, or are there more opportunity or less opportunity because, you know, there's no drafting involved? What's the whole endorsement world like?
Well, the endorsements is where agents can get money, a lot of money, especially starting off, you know, because a lot of people don't realize agents only make 4% between the 80 and 120% salary of a rookie. So just to put that in perspective, if you get the number one pick, you're making $90,000. And yes, that's great, but think about that for the number one, and that goes down, like trickles down, you know? So endorsements is where a lot of agents make money. I haven't had a lottery pick yet, unfortunately, but I'm willing, just from what I've seen, it's the same thing. When they want you, they'll come get you, you know, they're going to offer. But as far as like the smaller players who are in the NBA, some players who are, especially players, believe it or not, like you don't have to be a huge name if you can show you have a huge following now with social media, if you have a huge following within your area. So you can use all that. That's where an agent actually can really negotiate. You know, we go to a car dealership, you go to clothing brands, and you tell them like, look, I have this player, he has this following. That's where we can actually do some negotiating, and it really can help both parties, you know, and just getting an endorsement in general, it just it's a huge thing, and it's what you kind of look for, especially as an agent, because a lot of those contracts with the NBA teams are already set. Endorsements is where you do your real work, because nothing of that is set, right? And that's where my skills as a lawyer comes into play, because I need to be able to really look at the contracts and understand, you know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. But that sounds like there's more work for you in outreach, whereas in, right? Oh, you know what? Quincy, we can get you a car dealership if we do that work. Are you interested in doing it? But the car dealerships aren't going, let's just call everyone in the G League and find out. Whereas, I mean, I know if you're a lottery pick, Nike's calling, Adidas is calling, they're all calling, and you get to narrow it down. But that car dealership isn't necessarily calling. They don't realize that they're looking for that.
No, exactly. So that's where the outreach is important, depending on the level of player, you know. And like you hit on something earlier, unintentionally. I don't even know if it was, but it was basically like, it's almost like a domino effect. When you start getting players, everyone wants to come to you, even before you have the players. So like once you make a name as an agent, to have big players, you're gonna have all the connections just come to you. And it's not gonna be about the player anymore. You know what I mean? It's gonna be about that. Like for instance, look at LeBron's agent. What's his name? Rich Paul. I'm sure Rich Paul gets called by Nike. I think he gets all Nikes for lifetime. You know, like and you know. That's the nature of the game. Is like it's you grind, you make connections, you get into the seat where you get a few lottery picks, and then basically it becomes a lot easier for you. Until then, you're definitely doing a lot more outreach. So
yeah. Sometimes you're watching local TV and you see some offensive lineman or some defensive back in the commercial, and you're like, his agent was owed a favor. And this is always the feeling that I get, like, how is so-and-so in that commercial? Ah, yes. He has the same agent. He's the same agent as the quarterback who's also in that commercial.
It's so true. I mean, it's so true. You see it all the time. I don't want to put any players and make them feel any less of themselves, but you see it all the time in the NBA, the NFL, even baseball sometimes. I mean,
yeah.
But it really is. It's a relationship business in all aspects. At first, you got to build those relationships. You got to reach out a lot of people, and then eventually, if you do it right, it reverses. So.
Yeah. Excellent. So now you mentioned before that you mentioned you went to law school. You said your skills as a lawyer, but you're no longer in law. You're just doing the agency thing.
Well, I'm an investor and the agency thing. Law. The good thing about an agent, I'm gonna tell you right now, is it's one of the best paying jobs I've ever found as far as value. Like amazing. Like right. Like at first, not gonna lie, you can go into a hole very easily, and that's one thing people got to realize. Like, but if you can get out of that hole and manage to really connect, it's very, very profitable and it's worth the time. And plus, I get to be around basketball. Law, on the other hand, law is the same thing as an agent, right? Like no matter what client I had, whether it's for real estate, contract negotiation, criminal, it was, your babysitter. And like what they teach you in law school does not apply to the real world. The real world is more practical sense of where nothing ever goes by how the law is supposed to. Nothing ever, like you got to figure out how to navigate with facts that have never been done before. Like, and it is always every negotiation, every closing, there's always a headache. It's always a headache. And the reason I say that I don't like it, I'm very big on my life about energy and stress. Like I think people need to learn to take self-care every day. Law is not one of those areas, because think about it. Like say you came to me, Obi, right? And you needed even a negotiation or something, right? That's a very stressful event for you. What do you do when you find a lawyer? You look to place that stress on his shoulders and let him handle it. He's a problem solver. And then now think about it. As a lawyer, the only way you make more money is more volume for the most part. So what do? You go get more and more stress, And for me, it just wasn't it. Yes, I made great money. I was in solo practice. And I actually do enjoy being a lawyer. So I'm going to do it. I plan to open a nonprofit and, do it to help more than because I think I can offer those services to people who need. And I do enjoy being a lawyer. I just rather do it on my terms and not be basically enslaved by the money aspect of it, And so I'm a big believer in investing. I think, investing is the world's best kept secret for people who don't know. And I think in the agency it offers everything I enjoy already. So it was just, once I started doing the agency started doing well, my investment started to do well. It was an easy decision.
Excellent. And as we've talked about earlier, and maybe we'll get flashed up, you talk about your crypto investing at AHS Coin on Twitter. How did you end up in crypto as opposed to, let's say, there's hundreds of other ways that one can invest. What brought you to crypto?
So actually, I've invested in everything. I've always ever since I was younger, I started studying stocks. I went through a gambling phase. I feel like it's like very 2 and 2 with a lot of investing, and it's it just naturally calls for you. I'm not gonna lie, I got into crypto because something wanted Bitcoin years ago, and it was so annoying. I had to transfer money into Coinbase, buy Bitcoin, and this was only when like 5 coins existed. And then so the thing that I bought cost maybe like $100. It wasn't anything serious. It was just something small. I had $10 left in Coinbase. It wasn't worth it to withdraw it because I was like, I'm just gonna probably hopefully buy something later. So I kept the $10 in there. A couple months go by. I go to go get whatever I was gonna buy, and it's a couple $1,000s, and I'm like, whoa. All right. So I had no idea what happened, and this is when I'm like 20, 21 maybe. I think it was 20, or maybe 22. I don't know. It was around that age. And so for me, I'm like, whoa, like what just happened? And this is when I'm trying to day trade stocks. I'm doing day trading at the time. I wasn't really investing. I was just trading, and all of a sudden I see this go up. So I start researching. Long story short, I actually took out my profit and put it into Litecoin. This was before Ethereum. Litecoin was at the time, Litecoin was a penny or two. But I thought I was used to stocks. So I saw when I got into Bitcoin, it was like $1, maybe less. It went all the way up to like $200 or something like that, So I'm used to stocks. I'm like, this is going to crash. Like everything corrects, right? Every market cycles, nothing goes straight up. So I looked for the next Bitcoin, which was Litecoin. I put a couple $1,000s in there. And unfortunately, it was during the time where there wasn't much regulation. So it got seized. I have a couple $1 million in Litecoin that I can never touch, because the website got seized. It was an exchange. Because I guess during the time, there's a lot of illegal stuff going. Obviously, there's people like me who just got lucky and like went into it. Not lucky because I didn't get it. But so I always had my eye on crypto. But understanding law also made me understand that, and also understanding life with systems, right? We have certain checks and balances in every system. There's systems in place for a reason. And I say that because with investing, there's certain standards like the investor standard that doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense is they can't have a shift of money. They can't always have shifts of wealth. So the last time when crypto started running, I always understood just based off regulation that they were going to do something, whether it was they brought out the futures market, just like they did with gold and silver. They're going to try to tame it, and they can't have this transfer of wealth. Transfer of wealth would disrupt ecosystems, So I kept researching it. I did a lot of research, and then I became good, and I found a few cryptos that I really liked, and I instead of trading them, I invested them early before there was any much movement. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say on here some of the early investments. Voyager. Voyager is a Coinbase competitor. They're basically the Robinhood of crypto. Soon they're gonna have stocks to crypto. They're huge. I got into VGX, their native token, way before anybody because again, you don't want to beat the crowd, especially with investing. That turned into another token, Stormex, STMX. I really believe in these two companies. They also have added utility besides just holding it. Like, for instance, VGX pays you 7% annually on their token. And soon they're going to launch the program. That's an amazing thing. So the reason crypto is because I've never seen something so disruptive in our life. And this is the best risk reward, the best, disruption of actual technology in our life. And that's what I look for in an investment. Stocks, I did very well as a day trader, but it's very hard to have an edge in a system that's already so basically so populated and so understood by so many others. Crypto is not understood yet. Regulation is starting to catch up, and it gives a lot of new people a competitive advantage because, in the stock market, you have a lot of market makers, and I'm sure you're going to have them in crypto, but a lot of people don't understand there's a lot of behind the scenes with stocks that it makes it very hard for you to win.
Absolutely. And I think we're seeing Mr. Musk try to be a bit of a market maker because he has the voice.
Don't get me started on Musk.
I won't. As a matter of fact, we're going to find out if you have game. We're going to do a little challenge here. Okay. Our challenge this week is New Jersey, NJ or no way. So I'm going to give you the name of an athlete who definitely has New Jersey roots. And you're going to try to figure out or know whether they were born in New Jersey or if they just lived in New Jersey for part of their life. So if our producer can bring up our first name, she'll go ahead and pull that up. Now, we're not keeping score. And we'll just see where these take us. So we'll start with Wayne Corbett. Was he born in New Jersey, or does he just have Jersey roots?
I mean, I know he lives with my mom, where my mom lives now in Garfield. That's where he right? Correct. I think he was born there.
Let's see. Where was Wayne Corbett born? 100% correct. Born in Garfield, went to Garfield High. We played football against Garfield while he was there. I can't tell you for sure I played against him, but I can't imagine that I didn't.
Oh man, Obi, when I remember you were quite the athlete too. So I'm sure he would have remembered you too if you remembered him.
I don't know about that. We'll see. All right, who we got next? I appreciate that though. One, Carl Lewis.
Carl Lewis. I don't think he was born here because I just feel like because I know a lot of athletes that were rooted here because New Jersey is very prideful, so a lot of times they'll mention names for years to come.
This is very true. Let's see where Carl Lewis is from. You are correct. Born in Birmingham, Alabama, but raised in Williamsboro. 9-time Olympic gold medalist, 1-time Olympic silver, but yes. Born, raised here, not born.
No, he's an impressive athlete, but like I said, the more impressive they are, if New Jersey's still not talking about them, probably wasn't born here.
Probably not. I mean, the man still holds the record for the world indoor long jump. Most track and field records are not meant to last that long, but Carl Lewis was and is a special athlete.
That's impressive. All right. It's a very mentally strong athlete as well.
Yes, absolutely. Most of the best are. Let's see who's next.
Definitely.
Carly Lloyd. Spelt wrong here by me, but Carly Lloyd.
That one's a tough one. I don't know. My gut is saying Kyrie Lloyd was born in New Jersey. I don't know why. I don't have any. Sometimes you just got to go with your gut in life.
All right. Let's see how your gut's treating you. Born in Delran, played soccer as a high school in Delran, went to college and played soccer at Rutgers. Currently plays for New Jersey, New York. This is a total Jersey girl.
Jersey girl. Yep. I'm
Absolutely.
happy. I mean, yep. I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not. I like soccer for the fun and festivities, but I'm not really big on soccer. But I heard her name, and that's why when it rings a bell, I'm like, maybe Jersey, because somebody's talked about it.
Or it could be she's a 3-time Olympian, 2-time gold medalist, and scored the winning goal in both of those gold medal games. But yeah,
it's probably that.
It's probably that. But because I didn't know she was from New Jersey till I did the research for this game. I was like, yeah. Way to go, Carly Lloyd. Let's see who we have next.
I love Rutgers as well. No Penn State over here, just Rutgers.
Absolutely. Remember, Me, My Scotch, and I can be found on TikTok at me_my_scotch_and_I, and Me, My Scotch, and I is on YouTube as well. We take our full episodes. We put them out there. Plus, we cut up these bits here so you get your game and your drinking segments, so you can just see those in their playlists. It's all me, all the time. Me, My Scotch, and I. And yes, Rutgers is a big deal here in the state, even if it's Scarlet Knights or the Scarlet Raptors, both ways. Mike Trout.
I think he was a Philly guy. I don't think he was born here. He wasn't born here, no.
Let's see what we get from Mike Trout. You had to get one. Born in Vineland, New Jersey. Grew up in Millville, the Millville Missile. Probably the best player in the game right now. People thought he was slowing down, but he has the highest offensive WAR. So, yeah.
I really thought he was from Philadelphia because South Jersey. Sometimes you get those lines confused down there.
Oh yeah, I mean he's big down here. Everybody here knows him. Big, huge Eagles fan. It's like the only time he ever comes across from California is to root for his Eagles. But they grew up the Millville Missile. So.
That's what I sometimes blur the lines of North Jersey and South Jersey. We're two different states ourselves.
I know. I mean, hey, you lived down here for about 4 years, and you were like, wait a second, Taylor ham or pork roll? What happened?
Oh my God, that and you guys call it hoagies. I couldn't get over it.
Yeah, it's a different game down here.
It's a different language.
Before we, I'm from North Jersey originally. I came down here. I don't know how long I've been living here. At the time, I went back up to go watch a football game at Giants Stadium, at Giants game, and I got there like 2 hours before we were supposed to tailgate. So I leave this. I don't make it all the way to the stadium. I start driving around Bergen County, like see the Home Depot. I needed some stuff, so I'm like, I'll stop in. And I'm like, half of the not Home Depot, BJ's, half of the store is quartered off. What is going on?
And then Sunday.
Sunday. Like now I can't even begin. Like I've almost lived down south in South Jersey as long as I'm from North Jersey, and it really starts to eat away at your personality.
No, it really does. I mean, that blue law is sometimes super inconvenient.
Yes, it is. All right, let's see who's next. Kyrie Irving.
I grew up. I know he's from New Jersey. I mean, I played with him my whole life. When we were younger. He's younger than me by a few years, but you know, I actually used to hang out with one of his best friends. And then you know, when you grow up playing basketball in this area, you play with all the top players, and so you know, he's from Bloomfield, I believe.
I put him in here hoping that you would have a story about him just like that. Like I looked, I'm like, I went through all the great basketball players from New Jersey, and I went through people. I was like, who's closest in age to Anthony? And it was Kyrie. Now let's see. Kyrie Irving. Born in Australia, but did go to high school and lived in Bloomfield. Yes.
Man, he does not have an accent or anything.
I mean, I don't know. He came here young, obviously. I'm not even, you know.
I know because he went to in high school. He went to Montclair Kimberly Academy his first 2 years, and then went to St. Patrick's. But I guess I didn't know him before that. But he was always very well spoken. You know, right now he gets a lot of heat, but a lot of athletes do. But he's always been a great. Every time I've conversated with him, it was amazing talks, and he's always had the right head on his shoulders to be an amazing basketball player.
Yes, and that he is, and I mean, I don't know the final score, but the Sixers are up by a significant amount heading into the third quarter. So it looks like they'll be the 2 seed, and we're going to get a chance to see if that big three can meld in time to beat either the Bucks and or the Sixers. All right, let's see who's next. What was that?
They have it cut out for them.
Yeah, they do. Tara Lipinski.
I know Lipinskis in general have roots in New Jersey. I'm saying born here.
Let's see. Tara Lipinski.
Come on, don't let me down. Oh, that's a Philly one, see?
That's your blurred line right there. And it's always possible, like, you know, her parents lived in, you know, Washington Township at the time and just had the baby in Philly. But yes, she was born in Philly. The 1997 world champion, 1998 gold medalist. And the crazy thing about her, in 1998, when she retired, she was undefeated in professional figure skating competitions.
That's impressive. You know, I'm starting to realize South Jersey had some, you know, some golden nuggets with athletes. I mean, you know, you hear about us over here in New York especially, but man, South Jersey has some play. You guys got some of the elite.
Yeah, we there were a few. Let's see who the last one is. Dennis Rodman.
No way. No way. I can't even. No.
I'm going to refuse to claim him. Is that the point here?
Like, even if he. No.
Well, let's take a look at where the worm is from.
He had to be born in Korea, North Korea.
Trenton.
Oh my God. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that. I'm actually surprised by that.
And you know, Trenton, the arguable and mystical Central Jersey is Trenton, so we don't have to take too much credit for him in South or North Jersey if we're willing to concede that there is a Central Jersey.
To be fair, we consider it South, so no. We can't concede that.
Yes, but believe me, from here it's North. So
if we have to drive more than an hour down south to get somewhere, it's South Jersey to us.
Right, if we have to go an hour north, and yet there we're both in Trenton, so you know, Central Jersey. All right, thank you.
We'll give him the Central Jersey. We won't give him the South. We won't give him the North. We'll give him the Central.
There comes a time when you need to accept that there's a Central Jersey, and this might be it.
Obi, I swear, I make a living off arguing. That is probably one of the best arguments I've ever heard for Central Jersey.
There you go. Wow, that took us right up to the point we get to have our drinks. Very excited. about these wines you suggested here. So I got some ice for my sangria.
Well, I usually do medium bold wines. My friend recommended me try some, so I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to try some sweeter wine.
Okay, all right.
I went to Italy and I fell in love with wine.
Yes, you really did go sweet from what I can tell. I as the show says, Jess, I'm much more of a whiskey drinker, so I don't know how my tasting skills are going to play off of this, but we're going to find out.
I mean, look, whiskey is. I'll consider myself sophisticated when I start enjoying whiskey. I appreciate you making an exception. I got to try some good whiskey. I used to bartend actually when I was younger.
Yeah, yes, we can definitely give you some advice on some good whiskeys. But
what do you have first?
I got the sangria, the Capriccio Sangria, also sold in 4-packs.
This is a good party wine. I'm telling you right now. This is a good sangria.
Sure it is.
Smells good. I think this is pretty tasty.
Very sweet, not cloyingly sweet, very berry. It tastes like the fruits that are usually in your sangria pitcher are already in there. They did a really nice job.
No, exactly. I agree with that completely because, sometimes when you go places, you need the fruit to really get the essence of it. It's actually in there. I enjoyed that. I'm not usually a sangria drinker, too, off the bottle. It's really nice.
I got to tell you, my favorite sangria story, which is very embarrassing for me.
Let me hear this.
I was at a restaurant, which I'm sure you're familiar with, because I'm pretty sure you grew up literally around the corner from it. Segovia?
Oh, yeah. Segovia and Munaki, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. We go there, my wife and I and a couple of her friends, and this couple sits down at the table, like right next to us with like this much space between the tables. The pitcher's there. I reached for the paella, and the sangria hits the entire table. That couple jumped up and changed seats so fast. It was crazy. That's my favorite sangria story, even though it's a little negative on me.
Listen, I once was serving at a restaurant, and unfortunately, I poured sangria at Olive Garden. We had a sangria, which actually, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't taste bad, and unfortunately, it went over a couple. So that was worse.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's a little worse. You have a worse sangria story than I do.
Safe to say I didn't get the tip,
Yeah. The Roscato. This is a Rosa Dolce. It's a sweet red. And like you said, you don't usually...
this is generally a wine that apparently people like, because you can chill it. And, people really enjoy it for dessert. So I was like, let me try it. I never tried it.
All right. Let's give it a...
It's not bad. What do you think?
Just for the audience, I'm going to give them a little smell-o-vision first. It's not as sweet or as berry. I don't know the word for it. It's like I said, I'm much more used to giving the flavors on it's a little. If it was whiskey, I would say it was berry with oak. But I don't know how to describe that with wine. But the flavor itself is nice and deep.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, especially for, a wine that's supposed to be sweeter. It definitely, let me get another. I like that it's not, because sometimes when things are too sweet for me, they send off like a wave through my, these definitely, both of them actually didn't do that, and that's surprising, so I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, no, the Roscato, I was actually expecting it to have a sweeter taste based on the description, but the sangria was sweeter, but it wasn't candy sweet. It was fruity, very fruitful. I think I like the sangria better, but it might be because it was on ice. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it depends also what you're eating with, or if you're just drinking. Definitely, especially we're going into summer, sangria definitely hits better. I think for more tropical feel. But if I'm having say a dark chocolate or something for dessert, probably go with the Roscato.
There you go. Well, Marianne Schottenfeld is watching, and she says, "Bring that wine to Harmony." That's okay. We'll bring it to Harmony. With that, we got I'd like you to go off now. You got about 5 minutes. Tell me about your dancing.
My dancing.
Yeah.
So, after basketball actually ended, I'm always the type that just needs to work towards something, and obviously I wasn't playing the NBA. I'm not really the type to just keep playing basketball. I mean, I love it and I still play from time to time, but I love the aspect of trying to get better, you know? I really did. But dancing, let me tell you, if there's anything in life that I could recommend anybody try, it's dancing. You grow in who you are. Because at first when you start dancing, you think everyone's watching you. You go through a lot of self-growth with it. It's very freeing. You could deal with a lot of traumas through it. It's an amazing feeling. And also as we get older, it's really important to have community. We lose that aspect as we get older because we lose friends. We don't really engage in big groups, but dancing community is amazing. It's far, vast, all ages, all sizes, all backgrounds. And it's a beautiful thing. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's very meditative. I do it every day. It's honestly, I really recommend it to anybody looking to try something new. You're never too late. You're never from don't think you have to be any age, background, or anything. Just go for it, and you'll see how inviting the community is. You'll see how to make new friends. You'll make connections, and that's part of the human experience. It's not just business; it's life. We got to make connections. We got to grow together.
Absolutely. Now, how badly were you affected by COVID with that?
Oh, terribly. I mean, so I told you I went to Italy. I went to Italy for a dance event. I met my girlfriend on the West Coast. Hi, Alicia. She lives in Washington because of a dance event. I met some of my best friends now and I say it really hurted because everything shut down. Everything from events to the studio. I gained 50 pounds. I lost it now since everything was opening up. So it was a big, just like anything in life where, COVID really destroyed certain aspects of, it was nice to, COVID had some aspects of really settling down and for instance, picking up new things and learning, how to sit with yourself, but it also destroyed what I think is the most important thing of human experience is relationships and, socialization. It was really, it sucked for the dance community. Unfortunately, a lot of people who were employed in the dance community, it hurt. A lot of studios had to shut down, and congresses. There's this thing in what I dance a lot of salsa. It's called a congress. It's basically, they happen all over the world. There's one in Utah, one in New York, one in Cali, one in Washington, all over the states. There's Italy, there's Asia, all the different Asian countries, UK. And I've literally met so many people and friends from across the world just because of dance. And COVID shut that off, so it was very hard. Definitely. I mean, everyone got affected, and definitely the dance community.
Absolutely. I mean, my hobby pre-COVID was Kumdo, which we talked about last week with Chris Johnson, and that's a martial arts. And if you give up dancing, I highly suggest you do because you don't get thrown around too much. You don't get beaten up too much. It's a great martial arts for folks who decided that they want to fight but not get hurt. But yeah, the studio had to close. I mean, that was it. You can't go and train.
Same experience.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, martial art is not so far from dancing. They both do the same thing, and they're very meditative. They're very connecting to the energy, and that's what I love about martial arts. Is a lot of people don't realize that behind martial arts is not about just fighting. It's an art. It's an art. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's all about a lot of them have different ways of just. I wouldn't even say hugely different. Just another perspective on the world for you to look at. It's being within yourself.
I love that. Yeah. Different perspective, and that's how it's all one truth, but different perspectives.
Absolutely. Anthony, thank you very much for joining us. It was great to have you. Great to talk to you. I really appreciate it. Next week, we're going to have fantasy football analyst Tyler Butcher. But of course, as always, we are still out there searching for our bottle of Ron Burgundy's Great Odin's Raven Special Reserve Scotch. And if we can find it, then we're going to try to trace down Will Ferrell and discuss some of his great sports movies and his entire career. As always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Take care.
No, thank you.
It's a show with Obi and his rocking hat. If this was the 90s, he would be all that. It's me, my Scotch and I, 'cause Obi Obi is the guy. Obi is the guy.